I've seen some of these Democratic governors say they're going to stand in the way. They're going to make it hard for us. Well, a suggestion: if you're not going to help us, get the hell out of the way. If we're going to do it. So if we can't get assistance from New York City, and we may have to double the number of agents we send to New York City, because we're going to do the job. We're going to do the job without you or with you. But it's much easier to arrest a bad guy. Like I just said, we're concentrating on public safety threats of human and national security threats. Right. It's much easier to arrest a bad guy in the jail. Give us access to Rikers Island that we've been kicked out of. Let us get the bad guy in jail. It's safer for the alien. It's safer for the officer. It's safer for the community. But if you're going to release these bad guys, out in the community, then we're going to have to go find them, which puts the officer at risk, puts the community at risk, and and bottom line is, sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals.
Tom Homan served as acting director of ICE during Trump's first term in the White House. And even though MAGA Republicans preach states' rights, it's odd that all of it goes out of the window when it comes to the mass deportation policies that Trump promised. He fits so perfectly, he's been named the administration's new border czar.
We got to tell you about big news from overnight. A Fox News alert. President-elect Trump's new cabinet is starting to take shape because overnight, while you were sleeping, he tapped Tom Homan to be his border czar.
Trump saying, quote, "There is nobody better at policing and controlling our borders." Likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin.
He worked with the president to come up with this job description.
It's weird how Fox, Donald Trump, and Tom Homan himself are no longer using the term border czar in a negative tone, the way that they did when they named Vice President Harris the border czar to use in their narratives meant to scare supporters. Now, czar is a tough guy that can't wait to harm migrant children.
And I'm sick and tired of hearing about the family separation. And I'm still being sued over that, so come get me. I don't give a shit, right? Bottom line is, we enforce the law. American families, when I was a cop in New York and I arrest a father for domestic violence or someone for DUI, I separate that family. When you violate the law with a child, you're going to be separated. But you're right. 250,000 children have crossed this border since Joe Biden's been president. They chose to separate themselves. And the children aren't always children.
None of this energy is a surprise. Trump campaigned on cruelty with migrants and the idea that children that are brought on the journey to the border aren't really kids. They're actually fighting age men coming to take your daughters.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Homan, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
Are we seeing that legal asylum seekers are all the same as MS-13 and those animals, as Trump described, crossing the border? It may give some indication as to who they consider dangerous and criminal, especially since legal immigrants are included in the promise of mass deportation. They hold this mindset and expect you to blindly trust their discernment in how they hope to carry this policy out. But their motivations don't even stop there.
They'll wait around till the next amnesty giveaway. Future Democratic voters, the Democrats know exactly what they're doing. They have the same data points I do. This isn't by accident. This isn't mismanagement. This is by design.
So you're telling me this is intentional. Who could possibly want to do this to our country? MS-13 unleashed in our country, people on the terror watch list. Who could possibly intentionally want to do this, and why?
Look, it's an insult. It's the left, the Democrats, and here's why. Because they think they're future Democratic voters, or they think there's some political benefit in all this. But most important, they don't even have to wait for them to vote, Kayleigh. President Biden also overturned the Trump census rules, which means millions of these people who enter the country illegally, who are in sanctuary cities like New York, they'll be counted in the next census. What does that mean? That means more seats in the House for the Democrats and reproportionate the seats. They perceive a future political benefit from doing this. They sold our nation out.
So
they
sick.
sold our national security out. They sold our sovereignty out for what they think is future political power.
Citing the idea of the Great Replacement, where fearful Americans assume somehow that all these folks are here to participate in our elections and tilt the scales in favor of Democrats that gave them all they need to secretly live here in luxury in exchange for some votes. People like Homan ignore the fact that our elections haven't been fraudulent and migrants aren't running to the polls unchecked. And if so, why do Democrats keep losing these elections? They've been pushing this theory forever, but the results they claim just aren't coming true. But that never matters when fear tactics are in play. But there is one last revealing association that Fox Friends didn't include in their alert off the top. Homan is a contributor to that same Project 2025 that the Trump team repeatedly claimed had nothing to do with them when it became clear that those fascist policies were the blueprint for his agenda. But he doesn't have to even hide it anymore.
When I worked for the Trump administration, we handed this administration the most secure border of my lifetime. They unsecure this border on purpose. What commander-in-chief does that to the nation? It has resulted in a record number of Americans dying from fentanyl, over 112,000. A record number of women and children being sex trafficked into the United States. This is devastating to America. We can't have national security without border security. The Border 911 team, who is experts, the most profound experts in the world when it comes to border security, are going to spend the next year educating the American people on why border security matters. It's a national security threat. It's a public safety threat. It's a public health threat. When President Trump walks back in the Oval Office in January of 2025, we'll lock this border down in 120 days.
He knew he was set to be named Trump's border czar well before he won the election. He knew his policies detailed in Project 2025 were a part of why he was already in. But just in case, he also carried out his duties as a card-carrying member of MAGA Inner Circle by kissing Trump's ass and making him out to be a warrior that somehow embodies manliness that no one else can touch.
There's a lot of stuff going on, so I don't blame the Secret Service a bit about the men and women on the ground who saved the president's life. And let's talk about the president. When the shots were heard, he did exactly as he was trained and got down behind that podium because he's been trained. There's security precautions around that podium that will protect him. And I'll say this, when they finally did get him up, you see him move a Secret Service agent aside to let the American people know he's okay and that he's going to continue to fight. This proves, once again, the same thing I've been saying for 4 years on this network. He is a warrior. He is a man's man. He is not a coward. He's a brave person that wants to come back and make this country great. He wants to, and he loves law enforcement. And for him to stand up after that issue and put himself in harm's way, which probably wasn't the best safety move he made, but he wanted the American people to know he's good and he's going to continue to fight. That man is just a warrior, and people need to understand that. I think last night proved it.